Texas. The flag below Utah. Which of these states? Which of these states is? Which of? Which of the? Which of these states? Which Louisiana? Which state border Washington? Which of these states is Idaho? The flag Georgia. Which of these states? Which state borders the Great Lakes? New York. Which state borders Missouri? Which state Washington? Which of these states? Which state border Pennsylvania? Which state California? Which state border Mississippi? Which of these states is? Which of these states? The flag below belongs to Massachusetts. Which state borders Rhode Island? Which of these? Which? Which of these states? Which of these states is? Which state borders the Gulf of Mexico? Louisiana. Which? Which state borders the New York? Which of these states is Indiana? Which of the? Which state Maine? Which of? Which state Illinois? Which state Oregon? Which of the? Which Wisconsin? The flag below Rhode Island. Which? Which of these? The flag of Louisiana. Which of these? The flag below belongs to which state? Kentucky. I am Kansas, and this is my flag. Which state borders Tennessee? Which state Delaware? Which state borders New Jersey? The flag below Maryland. Which of the? Which of these states is? Which state borders Florida? Which state borders North Carolina? The flag below Nebraska. Which of these? Which state borders Washington? The flag South Carolina. Which of these? Which of these? Which state? California. Which? Which state borders New Hampshire? Which of these states? Which of these? Which of these? Which state? Texas. Which state? Mississippi. Which state? Alaska. Which state? Kentucky. Which of these states? Which of these states? Which of these? Which state borders the Pacific? Washington. Which Oregon? Which of these? Which of these? Which state? California. Which state? Alaska. Which state? Illinois. Which state? Louisiana. Which Mississippi? Which state? Alabama. Which state? Oregon. Which state? Tennessee. The flag below. Delaware. Which of these? The flag below. Colorado. Which Texas? Which of? Which state board? Michigan. Which state? New Hampshire.